What is happening, everybody, man? Thank you guys tuning in to another episode of the Agent to CEO podcast, the masterclass in becoming the CEO of your life and business. And today we have the one and only Danielle Bade, head of strategic partnerships at Huzi and an AI adoption coach who's helped train over 1,000 real estate professionals globally, 17 plus years in the industry as an agent, team leader, brokerage owner, and coach. Danielle is known for a simple philosophy: clarity before execution. So AI becomes leverage and not overwhelm. Danielle, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Long time coming. We should have, I was kind of like with Rick and then Danielle. I was like, why haven't we done this sooner? So good to finally make it happen and good to have you on.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All right, you ready to jump in?
Yeah, excited to chat today.
Let's do it. So, I guess one of the questions because you from an agent perspective, you and the Huzi team and Eric and Rick and just the incredible team that you guys have, when it comes to getting results, right? That's really everything we're looking at, everything we're doing. How can we become more productive? So why are some agents in your experience that you're seeing are getting massive results with AI while others say it doesn't work with me, right? I've been trying it for a couple of weeks. It's just not working. I can't get it to work, can't get it to help me. So why are some winning and some still not getting any traction?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a journey the last 2.5 years training agents and other real estate professionals with AI and adoption. And of course, just the technology itself has grown so much over the last 2.5 years. That in and of itself has changed. But I think if I was to zoom out, what we have taken away, the largest theme that we're seeing is that people are still approaching AI like typical software, how we have for the last few decades, which is, what is this thing for and what's the output that I can expect from it, right? Mm-hmm. So they'll land there and they'll go, what do I ask? Or what do I do here? And similarly to as if you were to hire somebody, like you don't hire somebody first with that really clear understanding of what you want that person to do for you, your business, and your team. And so it's getting them to take a step back and first ask themselves, what do I need? And then is this tool, AI, the right place to get that output or that result? Maybe it's a thinking partner or something like that, but they're putting tool first before any clarity in what their actual objective is. That's the biggest hurdle for people, I think. And then they end up sitting there. And so what happens is they'll get frustrated and then they'll say, okay, well, I don't know what to do. So, all right, I'll just ask for a listing description. And they walk away with a listing description. And it's probably one of the most frustrating processes because they had to iterate that listing description 25 different times. They still don't like the output. It's the perfect blend of rural convenience and access, and they're like, this took me longer than it ever has before. What is this AI superpower that everybody's talking about? So that's it.
So I guess kind of even to kind of what we said in the intro, when it comes to the failures, really more so comes from lack of clarity and context and obviously not the technology. So why is that happening?
Yeah. So, well, there's the first, and what you're hitting on here too is their level of AI fluency. I'll say that. So it's either that they lack clarity in their business and what it is that they need, or their lives, if we're talking a personal use case or something like that, or they lack a certain level of AI fluency, meaning they don't even understand what AI is on a foundational, fundamental level, and what it's capable of and what it's not capable of. I think if you're new to AI, taking a crash course on just what that even means, what AI even is, where it is currently in its current capabilities, sans anything future focused, because the way we all frame AI is that it can pretty much do everything or anything, which is true eventually, or true if you're really capable. but just off the shelf AI, the large language model, like getting really clear on what you can expect of it, and then figuring out, is there a use case in your business once you have clarity on what it is that you're needing. And then context is key, which I think is what you're getting at, right?
Yeah.
On, I think so. In all my years of training agents, I can't help but think about this one scenario. I had this agent call me. I used to be a broker owner, had a business partner, like the best in the business, and not long after that, I had an agent call, and they were asking a question, a broker question of me. And I gave them an answer, and they're like, well, that's not what, a broker just said. They gave me this. Like, well, tell me what the question was that you asked them. And so she told me the question, and I said, well, I would have answered it the same way, but you didn't provide all the information she needed to guide you. And it was actually a critical miss. Like it was horrible. It was a bad miss. And of course that agent in the moment was really defensive, and it was like, okay, well, why didn't this person ask me more qualifying questions? Well, because you came in with a very clearly defined question and parameters. And so that question was answered. And I think like the exact same thing happens if you take that to AI, a large language model. Without that context, you're going to get crap answers back or invaluable answers back. And so what this is doing is it's exposing the same gaps in a skill set that agents have carried with them for years. It's just showing its face now in the technology and the outputs that they're getting in their software or their AI outputs or something like that. But it's the same thing. If you didn't have that to leverage a team member or to get the best advice from an advisor or a mentor of yours, then you're going to see the same thing coming out of AI.
Yeah. That probably falls right into kind of your belief around AI creating new limitations, right? That just exposes the ones that they already have.
Yeah. I think I'm the perfect example of this. It's funny because Eric Post is I've known him for, ever since I've been in the business. So 17 plus years, a mentor of mine, a personal friend. Anyway, when he came to me with this position, said, I want you on this project. We're going to take this to market, the market, just as well as any of us. I thought technology, like that is technology, right? Yeah. I had staff to teach my agents technology and stuff like that. I could do the use case and the connection and stuff, but the actual technology pieces. But I quickly learned that wasn't it. You don't have to be technologically savvy. It's just, of course, understanding how it works. But the real transformation happens when you have clarity in your business. And even more so, because we've been saying that for the last however many years now, clarity in your business. I'm finding that it's self-awareness is just as key. And in fact, it's pretty powerful if you have that and you can clue into like what's sparking you on a daily basis,
Yeah.
What's sparking you, or what thought do you have? And maybe like a creative spark, for instance, that would normally go on a sticky note or just in the back of your mind. You now have the power with AI to like move that to step one so quickly. And that's where I think, to talk about a gap creator, it's those creative minds or people who are really in tune to that. Like, how can I become better personally? Or how can I provide a better service to my client? They can now move that forward so quickly, right? Before it fizzles out. That's the power, I think. And that's where I have found and get the most excited about it. Is you can go to that real estate conference. You can sit and listen to the Agent to CEO podcast and feel that spark that triggers something in you, and just take it to your AI immediately before it fizzles. And you can circle back to it, right?
Yeah.
But it's going to
Yeah,
stay
that's a
sparked
great
there.
point.
It's going to stay sparked
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
That's a great point. And something you said about clarity, and I just finished up an older book. I can't even remember how long ago I started reading it, but it's called The Millionaire Fast Lane. MJ DeMarco, I think is the guy's name. It's around here somewhere. But just reread it again, more so just kind of his thinking of things and how he frames kind of what he talks about, the slow lane, the fast lane, obviously the sidewalk, but just conditioned how had been conditioned to think about, money and wealth, and how do you accelerate that, that growth, right? And MJ's whole thing is pretty much through business, right? Like the fastest way to truly accelerate and build wealth is done through business. And so he just some principles and things that he talks about in there. But one of the things that he talks about is clarity, and not only in the way that you're referencing, in the way that I like to reference it, more so, okay, what's current reality, but also where are we going, right? What's that North Star? What are we working towards? But the way he also frames clarity is like, what caused you to be where you're at today, right? Think about that level of clarity. So if you've failed in business, you failed in relationships, you're in the situation you are, there's some clarity around how did you arrive to where you are, right? It's like, you just don't wake up 100 pounds overweight, right? That takes time. That takes undisciplined actions and behaviors over time that put you 100 pounds overweight. And it's the same thing too, right? Like you're not going to lose 100 pounds overnight as well, right? It's the process. So I think that's just a good reminder in the context, like what you were talking about, right? Clarity of understanding how you have arrived where you're at, but okay, how am I going to use this insight and this information in a way that's going to work for us moving forward? So I thought that was pretty cool in understanding those patterns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
something we're circling around here too is kind of, intention. So, even so, like checking AI and what comes out of AI, is it true? Is it growing? Is it factual? Is it growing you, expanding your mindset? But then the other piece of that too is like, is this even useful? So what's the intention when I sit down, with my AI, and what am I trying to accomplish? And so going back to like the adoption side of things, one of the elements that we were keenly aware of when we brought this to the real estate industry, one of the pain points of the real estate industry is like, we've got tech bloat. It is,
Yeah.
I mean, right? You rewind. Wild. I mean, and so it's 2026, definitely, 2020, but
you've been in the game long enough to see the tech explosion. Why is there the tech bloat?
Okay. Well, one, technology has exploded. That's one thing. Also, I think that things are super simple, and the cost of these subscriptions is low enough that we're like $12 a month. Sure. You promise to save me time. When you think about the real estate agents day to day, I mean, how many hats we wear, right? We say that all the time. How many hats we wear, and the pull, not just on our time, but on our energy. I think the stat is that every time you context switch, it takes 17 minutes between, you lose 17 minutes just context switching. Well, think about how many times during the day that happens. So anytime any technology promises us to like save some time in our business or our lives, we take it on. So we take on these subscriptions, and then we're frustrated because everything is disjoint, nothing talks to each other. So then we go and we pay for a subscription that's, a couple $1,000s because it promises to solve all of that and bring everything together, and it doesn't. And so I think that's like where agents are still coming to AI with that same mindset, which is, what is this going to replace currently in my business? And what frictions it going to remove? And that would be a fantastic way to approach it. But what they're doing with AI first is they're coming and they're saying, what does this thing do? And do I want to do it? So for instance, I guess my point is, if you don't need like content creation, then that subscription doesn't help you in your business.
Right.
And Eric talks about all the time, like, we don't have a content creation problem. So if you're going to any tool and they're selling you on creating marketing content for you, you're probably missing the real point, which is you've got a messaging problem, like not a content problem. Like we have content all around us constantly. You can create content in an instant with AI for free. So if you think that that's still a pain point in your business, and what it really is you don't have clarity on maybe who your ICP is or the service you provide, what your business is, right? And your message isn't hitting. That's what you really need help with. So I think that's what's leading to the tech bloat, is that people don't have clarity. So they're just grabbing one technology or the next, all that promise.
I think it's to your point, is that they're not really taking the time to really drill down to what the real problem is, right? Like, to your point is like, oh, it's going to save me time. But like, are you treating symptoms? Or are you getting to the root cause of what's really there? Is that kind of where you're seeing, how people are reacting? It's probably what it is, right? Just reacting to the symptoms instead of really digging into the real issue.
Yeah. Well, and you hear this. So I'm sure you've seen some of the articles and stuff, the headlines, these big corporations, enterprises spending millions of dollars to AI empower their teams, only to learn that their head departments are looking to AI augment or automate processes that the CEO is like shocked to find out that they even have and have never proven successful at all. And that's why they are not seeing any impact on their P&L, right? Because they're just adopting AI, but they're applying it to systems that are either outdated or have never really been assessed to determine whether or not they're moving the needle within the business. And so I think that's key. And that actually, we've iterated our product and our service offering at Huzi to address those very specific things. Like if you are a solo agent, if you're a solo agent and you don't have anybody on your team, it's very likely that you feel like you have systems and processes in your business, but you are just going through the motions and it's all in your head. You feel fairly automated because you've done this for so long, but the thought of hiring somebody is a little daunting, because how do you download what's in your head and almost automatic and by nature for you to train a new staff member? So those people find it very difficult to really find the true like transformational leverage in AI, because they aren't clear on the systems that are in their business. Team leaders have that. Team leaders have that because they've already gone through the process to figure out what systems do we have and where do we need leverage. Is it in a system or a tool, or is it a person? And if they've brought a team member on, then they've had to think about, how does this person carry forward my brand and my service offering to my clients? How do I scale through this individual? And because they've already thought through that and they have real clarity on what those elements are in their business, they're finding, quicker results out of leveraging AI technology.
Yeah, no, I want to come to that, but real quick, how do you, as a coach, team lead, how do you fix the user error without making people feel dumb, right? Because they just like, this is so new for so many people. How do you balance the user error without like making them feel a way to where they just shut down on you?
Patience. Patience, which is sometimes hard. No.
I know my default answer. I know what my default answer is, but I would just like, how do you dance with that?
Yeah. And this is what I've always enjoyed about coaching is I think the kind of breakthrough moment when you get through to a person that, because we all tend to overcomplicate things, especially when it's something that is a little overwhelming to us. Like we want to believe it is more complicated since we haven't quite grasped it. So there's a little bit of a defense mechanism there. But that breakthrough moment when they find like that they are capable. And so just like when I'm coaching agents, aside from technology, you know, asking questions and getting them to take a step back and really assess the entire situation and not just be focused on getting the answer from me. And if I can lead them to trust their own thought process, then that's where they just break open and can, you know, solve future problems. If we're not talking about AI, but as AI is applied here too, they can more confidently approach it like a thought partner and a team member or an extension of themselves because they have, I guess, trust in that they know how to solve the problem and they know what it is that they need to take into consideration to reach the answer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I had this agent. I was training her as a new licensee, and it was a couple years later. She was very successful. I remember calling me once. She goes, "You know, I just have to tell you, when you were first training me when I was getting started, I was always a little annoyed because I'd call you for some direction and you would just respond with all these questions. And I'm like, Danielle, just give me an answer." And, you know, she said, "I get it now because I feel very confident in my problem solving skills. And I know all the different things that need to be taken into consideration because there's not one, it's not linear, right? In our business, real estate is not, there's not one solution for a certain scenario." And so I think it's approaching it that same way because agents will come to me and I'll show them a use case on AI, on our, you know, on our Canvas or on our Spark Pad, and they'll get super excited about the outcome. And if their default response is like, "Oh, send that to me. Can I see that?" Right? Or how'd you do that? I have to remind them, like, this was just a thought process I had. And you've got a genius in you, you know? So that spark you have, or that thing that crossed your mind, or that inquiry that you had, something you would take to John Kitchens, take to your coach, and like, take that to your AI and iterate that. And you'll be just as wowed, I think, by the outcome with your own thought process. It's not just mine.
Yeah. And I know you've talked about kind of the gap creator. Is that those that can think, utilizing it versus those that are just, I mean, is that leverage versus a crutch is also in the same kind of what you reference as kind of the gap creator?
I think that's you know, AI, or Eric has said too, that this is not a technology revolution. It's a creativity revolution, because those that are creative, curious, you see that with AI, they're finding themselves on an open road with no speed limit. Those people, right? That have these like little sparks and like, "Oh, if I just had time, I would go explore this, or I would consider trying this with my clients or giving them this, like, if I just had time." Now they do, but it's not a packaged up thing. It's just that now that spark can actually turn into something for their business or their client. So I think that is the gap creator, because if you don't think that way already and you're not leaning into that spark, or that curiosity, and then wanting to expand and grow on that, then you are just approaching the software, the AI, the technology, like you're going to get an output. And it's only as good as what it is you're asking of it. And frankly, okay, so I'm a mom of 2 kids. I'm constantly telling them, like, if you need that clear of directions, if you can't read between the lines, if you can't read my body language and how frustrated I am in the moment, and how you can make me less frustrated, if it needs to be that spelled out for you, girls, I'm telling you, like, then that could be spelled out for a computer.
Yeah.
And I don't know how valuable you're going to be moving forward. So
Yeah, that's a great point. That's such a great point. And yeah, it's funny what you say. I've noticed that about Eric. He won't ever give you the answer. And he did it at KT as well with everybody in the room. And he just gives you ways to think about it. The opportunity I learned that from Jay Abraham. He did that to us all the time. And it was frustrating in the beginning until you understood the power behind it. Right. And I forget where I was reading it just here recently, Danielle, but like, it was like an upside down pyramid. And it's like, okay, the very tip of the pyramid, which is really, really small, that's me giving you how-tos. That's the impact that it's going to have for you. And then, and think about the pyramids broken into three things, right? And the small tip, that's kind of where we typically start in our minds. People want, how do you do that? What's the how-to? Well, I can give you the answer, but it's real small, right? It's really going to impact you just really, really small. And then the next quadrant of the three quadrants within the pyramid is a little bit bigger, but it's improvements. Hey, this is what you're doing. I can give you some improvements. But where I have the greatest impact is challenging you and helping the way you think. And Eric does it. You do it. Jay Abraham is the best in the world at it. And so once we got beyond the frustration and got beyond the how-tos and the improvements, then we started to think, accurately, ask better questions, really, putting some thought into it. And I can definitely see that being a gap creator in the way that you think and how you default to a certain thinking pattern that's not looking for the how-tos and the improvements, but really how can you exponentially help us, use this information to build a bigger, better future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's a gap creator in a couple different ways. One, because you've got those that just naturally think that way and approach problems that way, that again, are on an open road with no speed limit. And so they're taking off. Well, you're not moving just as fast. The other group of people aren't moving quite just as fast. But the other element to that is that if you don't grow that skill set, so if it doesn't come as second nature to you, you don't currently think that way, and you're not aware of that and not growing in that skill set, then arguably now with AI, you'll lose some. So you'll go backwards. You're going to go backwards because we talked about this, I think, before the call, like that. You'll find some on these large language models. There's some confirmation bias in every model.
Yeah.
And maybe even more dangerous is that it's not the same across the board. You'll find some that are more so like just laying it on thick. Danielle, you are so smart. You're going down the right road. This is great. And others have it toned down a little bit. And so if you're not entirely aware, you might be like, okay.
And even to the point, right? Like, hey, Danielle, I can't see you, but man, your outfit looks great today. Right. Like, just like, that's exactly what's happening as these tools, right? I mean, because one of the tools that we're using probably on a day in, a day out basis very well probably is MySpace, right? Think about that, right? Like one of our tools that we're using today is very much going to be MySpace. It's great right now, but is it even going to exist, down the road? If these tools keep changing, which we know they will, besides critical thinking, what are some of the other skills that actually matter long-term, with the new world that we're in?
Yeah. Critical thinking, emotional intelligence. Yeah. Emotional intelligence, self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think those are three, and there's others as well too, but I think those soft skills, it's the soft skills. And, I mean, we could go down the rabbit hole too of talking about just education today. I've got young kids and stuff, and how for a while it's been really focused on STEM, STEM learning, the sciences, and that's fantastic. But, how do you how do you move forward when a lot of that is going to be run by technology moving forward? What right now can technology not do? And then even as that changes and grows in and of itself, there will always be a human in the loop. And so what soft skills is what it is. What soft skills are you going to be bringing to the table that helps, I think, humans and computers technology work together, brings teams together. Sales, I think, is a fantastic space to be in, because it really does train you on all of those soft skills. You gotta be a problem solver. You gotta be self-aware, what failed, what didn't, what's working, what isn't. That's ever changing. And then clued into, think about all the different people that you work with, clued into those emotions. And I think reading between the lines also, and that's that emotional intelligence, is what's being said and what isn't, and where are the clues in that piece right there. Because if we are only relying on what's specifically being said and not all the nuance, then are we any better than the technology that's growing faster than we are?
Yeah. No, it's a very, very valid point. And yeah, it definitely is the softer side of things, and really just being able to think accurately, I think, is one of the most important pieces. And I think that's just like you said, right? It makes you feel good. It's going to gas you up a little bit, but if you don't have a little bit of discernment to push back, and I think that's kind of like back to self-awareness and like beautiful tools like the Working Genius. And so I think naturally for me, just because discernment is one of my genius, then being able to lean into that. But if that's a frustration of yours, then I think maybe that's one of the skills: learning how to push back, learning to challenge a little bit more, learning to probably on the critical thinking, right? Even though it is a frustration, pulling out of it a little bit with a little bit of discernment back, I think is going to serve you more than not.
Yeah, I think also we should all feel more capable because of AI, not less. So even if we talk about AI being a gap creator, and we're talking about these, two different skill sets or two different groups of people, and if you're in this camp, others are taken off and you're being left behind, sure, but that can change in an instant. And that's why I say being self-aware. It's recognizing in every scenario where you're hitting a roadblock and why. And is that roadblock really there, or is it a mindset?
Yes.
Like here's a good example. Rick Gray, my colleague, has been a long time
Rick's
business
amazing.
coach.
Yeah.
Incredible. He's incredible. Traveled with Jim Rohn. So is just one of the most insightful people to get direction from. So he was chatting the other day and talking about, the DISC profile and how fantastic that is when you're working with clients and really providing real value for them, is figuring out, what type of profile your clients are, and then speaking to them in their language. And so we're talking about how we can coach some agents and maybe use that as a use case and an example, because you can take that to AI and learn about the DISC profile or any of those very quickly without reading the books. Fantastic use case. But I'm picturing, as we're coming up with this plan, I know exactly what's going to happen. And Rick's genius, agents are going to be inspired, and they're going to say then on the call, "Oh, that's awesome. Can you send that to me?" Right? Send me the output, because it feels so good. And this is where I focus then, is that when I say self-awareness, it's you should clue into the fact that you're letting yourself stop there. You're thinking your process is, I'm going to email Rick and he's going to send me his output. And then what's the next step after that? It's now I have to figure out what this means. And then I have to figure out how it applies to my business, right? And you no longer have to have that pause point. If you're sparked with anything, whether it be on a podcast or a conference or anything, take that to your AI right now, right now before that fizzles out. And there now is this thread. So you move from Rick's genius direction, you take it to your AI, you're extremely candid in your lack of understanding of the process. You tell that to your AI thought partner and coach, and then you immediately apply that to your business and get direction on how you can craft that next conversation to implement the disc profile. So when I say self-aware, it's being really keen on like, where are you letting yourself stop and pause momentum because you think something's more complicated than it needs to be? Because it's not. You have access to AI at your fingertips, just like everybody else.
Yeah. I love that. It was kind of where my mind was going, if somebody's struggling, where do they need to focus? What are some workflows to think better, more accurate thought, not tools, what like in your thinking to create, better results. But thinking, kind of everything that you've shared, and obviously we know the importance of curiosity, the softer skills, the critical thinking component. Who wins in the future? Like what team, what kind of operator, team lead, agent will win in the next 3 to 5 years? Who's going to win between now and the end of the decade?
Those with clarity, putting that before anything else, and intention, clarity and intention. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. It's just, what's the intent and the action you're taking. I'm talking with my kids' school about neuroscience and how, in fact, there's a fantastic book. I bet you'd like it. It's called Nature and the Mind, and the neuroscience about access to nature and all of that. And so I think conversation is on any change that you're going to make. So whether it be repainting the walls or adding a picture or changing a conversation or anything like that, or adopting new technology, what's your intention? What problem are you trying to solve, right? Where's the current friction point? Or are you just doing it just to do it? And that is what has led to our tech bloat. To go back to your earlier question, is we don't have clarity, and there's no real intention. It's just fix, right? This promises to make something better, but that's the other thing too, is just constantly assessing, is what was working in the past working now? Or do I need to drop something? You coach on this all the time, right? So do you drop it, or do you iterate it and grow, or add something new? But that intention.
Yeah. I think you're spot on, right? Remember that one of the studies that James Clear shares in Atomic Habits is, from the workout regimen, right? The groups, right? You got a group that just operates with clarity. You got a group that just operates with a plan, but obviously the group with clarity and a plan had better sustainable results than the other groups, right? Operating with clarity, operating with just a plan. It takes both, right? It takes, like you said, it takes both clarity and intention of what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Well, and I think intention is the combination of those two, because if you have clarity and you have a plan, then when something, you question the plan, that plan came because there was real intention in achieving the outcome, the desired outcome. And you went through the thought process to figure out the steps to get there. And just that constant assessment too, of like what's working and what's not working. It's how I get out of bed every morning at 4:30 when I don't want to. It's because I know, like, I am keenly aware of how I feel if I don't, and what I'm working towards, it's not just because, but there's real intention in every step. And I think it's a lot easier to continue growing when you've thought through the process. Well, the book, The 12-Week Year.
Yeah.
Fantastic example of that, right? It's, you come up with tactical steps for your business, and it's a lot easier to keep taking those steps forward when there's intention behind them. There was a big objective, a large goal broken down into small pieces, and you took the time to figure out, well, this step right here move me closer? Or is it just this arbitrary, pie in the sky type movement? Yeah. So intention.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it really is. I think that goes back to everything that we've talked about. Obviously stay curious. For what reason, right? Like, what are we trying to truly accomplish? And I mean, there's poking around and there's doing things, just try to figure things out. But like, you're not going to keep poking at it if you're not curious and there's no intent behind it, right? There's no really truly trying to accomplish anything. It's not going to stick. It's not going to become a habit. It's just something that, you're going to abandon. You're going to be, oh, that thing, right? Yeah, that didn't work. That didn't work for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. On every step, every question you ask, like, why? That's my favorite question. Why?
Yeah.
Most annoying and my favorite question. Just why are you doing what you're doing? And if you can explain that to yourself, then it's a lot easier to stay the course and to pick the right path for sure.
That's the tenacity in you. You need clarity at all times.
Yeah.
Danielle, I appreciate you jumping in here. Just an absolute, treat to jump in and really unpack everything and where y'all's head is at. I really feel the way that you guys are approaching everything with AI, the way we're looking at things, starting down a path, to solve it, to realize, oh my goodness, that's going to solve itself. Let's step back. But continue to stay curious, continue to kind of see, really as fast as this is accelerating, we just don't know what we don't know. It was funny at kitchen table, and we'll wrap up with this. As Eric's going through everything, and we have people that have been in the room with Eric since day one of even getting to see what Huzi is, and hey, we're doing this and this is coming. And, I saw pretty quick Sphere as an example. Right. And he, it's just like, hey, we get here, we start and we realize, this is not even going to be relevant in the near future. So we're going to back off and we're going to kind of stay right here for a second. And I just said, Eric, is the direction we're going? And cause he's talking about, hey, we've cut all the tech. We only use, active campaign. Everything else is taking care of itself. And I'm like, are we moving into a world where everybody just has their own personal Jarvis and that's it? Is that really what where we're heading and what it's becoming? Is that everybody has their own AI personal assistant? They have their own Jarvis that they talk to that does everything for them. And I got that Eric smile. So I was like, okay, you don't need to say anything. I got it.
Well, but could you imagine that too? It's like if you just had a computer assistant and then you couldn't articulate like who you were or what you wanted them to do. Yeah. I mean, that's what we've been circling around here, but I love that. And you get the first taste of all of our products, but all of this information and these themes that we're seeing has led to what we offer now our agents. We've got the Satori project. I don't even know if you know, John, but we do a full business audit of an agent to find out where it is that they're wasting time in their business on those $25 an hour tasks.
Yeah.
Do an audit. And then we build out an AI team for them so they can automate those tasks. And then we say, based on the success of your business, here's your $500 an hour tasks. So you take that 10 hours a week that you're saving now with your AI team we just built for you, you devote it here. And you've got an increase in annual revenue like instantly this week. So yeah. Now those are people that you're working with, John, that have real clarity in their business. They can articulate their systems. But for other agents, we're like, we want to serve everybody, because just because you're not there now, there is a path for you to, one, use the technology and also to grow that skill set. And so you can go to SparkPad and we just ask you 7 questions to identify those pain points in your business and where there's friction. And then we build out our AI, builds out an AI team for you because you've answered those 7 questions. Now you've got clarity. Now you've got an AI team built for you. And it's a very intentional now large language model that you're interacting with. It's not just ChatGPT where you have to know how to push back. It's curated for you. So yeah, super exciting.
I am very excited about what's coming and into the future. And I think a lot of people that are creative, that are curious, that are the deep thinkers are really excited about, like you said, being able to form a gap between ourselves and everybody else in a positive direction. So really, really excited about it. Danielle, thank you again so much for jumping in here, adding a ton of value as always. And guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And, the question is real simple, tons of information, really, like I said, the Agent to CEO, the whole podcast experience. My intent, right? My goal is really curating and creating a masterclass and becoming the CEO of your life and the CEO of your business. So if you guys are ready to take that next step, sevenfigurecall.com. And if you are ready to build out the best AI tech that can really accelerate your business, hands down, Huzi is my definitely go-to. So Huzi.ai. Go schedule a call. I would say go schedule a call with Eric while you still can. I was shocked. Everybody at KT, there's so many people that were booking calls, and I'm like, who'd you do the call with? Did you get Danielle on? Did you get with Rick on? They go, no, Eric got on. I was like, what? So you guys listening in, take advantage of it while you still have access to be able to jump in with Eric. And guys are amazing. Can't say enough wonderful things about what you guys are doing. And keep
Thank you, John.
Keep rocking. So good stuff. Danielle, thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much. See you soon.
Bye.